Alright, this is Dave after the Metcon the other day. I like this video because we were able to find out why he was struggling so much with the squat cleans. And it actually has nothing to do with technique. It's nothing that he could fix with a barbell. He just needs to spend more time working on his mobility, and so we'll show you what that looks like. So he's doing a hang clean from the top of the knee. There's really nothing wrong with his pull. He's got a lot of power. Doesn't bend his arms early, extends. The bar might swing out a little bit in the front down that line, but that's not enough to cause a problem with lightweight in the middle of a Metcon like this. What he was having problems with catching it, he couldn't get a good front rack. He was off balance, and so let's look at why. So he jumps up, full extension, good position. The bar gets plenty high enough. He drops himself underneath it. So what's happened is he has a hard time catching the bar in the front rack. His elbows are down, kind of down in that position. So instead of keeping his hips back behind him, back here, down into that position, more into that position, you can see he's up on his toes. Is trying to keep his torso vertical. So two things need to happen here. He's pushing his hips forward and raising his chest up. You can even see him looking up, right? You can see him keeping his eyes up that way. So he's doing all those things because he doesn't have good front rack. He can't get his elbows up. He can't get the bar on his shoulders. So he makes up for it by just putting his body in a different position. What that does is forces him up on his toes. His hips are forward, and he can't squat properly. And when you get 135 on you, and and you get tired, you're going to start missing, and it's going to cause all kinds of problems. So two things need to happen. We need to fix his front rack, and we need to fix his squat. A little bit more ankle mobility, and he'd be able to keep his torso straight up and down. But here's the problem with the front rack. It's not just a shoulder mobility issue. It's not that he can't get his elbows high enough. It's more. There's more to it than that, and we figured it out when we looked at this video. When he sits down in the bottom in this position right here, if we zoom in a little bit, so I drew that line earlier, his elbows are somewhere down here. So his elbows are doing something like that. But if we look at his thoracic spine, and we see this big curve in his upper back, that's the problem. So if we just draw a 90-degree line from there to there, well, that's why his elbows are down. If we were just able to get his back farther up, draw a second line here, so if we had his chest up and his thoracic spine straight, his elbows would be out here where they need to be, and then he wouldn't have any problem holding the bar. So if we just get rid of that curve and make this more like this, what it should look like, then his elbows would be out here instead of down here. And that's our real problem. So he needs to work on his thoracic spine, and that's going to help get his elbows up, help him with his front rack. He's going to be more comfortable catching the bar on his shoulders. He's not going to put so much pressure on his wrists, and he's going to be able to push his hips back a little bit and get into a more comfortable squat. Also, fixing some issues with the squat, some ankle mobility, and some hip mobility will fix some of this. So this is a really good example of poor technique, but it's not poor technique because he has bad technique. It's poor technique because he physically can't get in the proper position. He physically can't do what he needs to be able to do to have proper technique. And we see this as coaches. We see this a ton. We rarely see poor technique. We see poor mobility and poor positions because of that poor mobility all the time, every single day. And especially when we get into squat cleans and snatches and things like this.